There's been confirmation this morning that the person who led the Democratic Alliance in Parliament, became the chair of the Federal Executive for the Democratic Alliance, and then the first mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay for the Democratic Alliance, has now joined ActionSA. Athol Trollip left the DA when Mmusi Maimane resigned from the party 2 years ago. He joined ActionSA this morning. He joins us now. Athol, good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time. Why have you decided to join ActionSA?
Stephen, it's a long story. But I suppose the best way to put it is that I have a political fire that burns inside me, and I've been out of politics now for 2 years. I've been working as a consultant in the agricultural sector, and I've spent a lot of time in the rural hinterland of the Eastern Cape. And basically all the flatland towns in this province and in the rest of the country are ghost towns. The only economic activity that takes place in them is a consumption kind of economic activity on paydays, and the people in this country are faced with a hopeless situation of joblessness. And my consultancy was focused on building bridges between the private and public sector to try and make South Africa work better. And when Herman Mashaba called me and said, would I assist him to offer South Africans an alternative to the current situation, I answered the gnawing questions in my gut of whether I'd done enough, and I convinced myself that I could still do some more, and here I am doing it again.
I mean, you played an important role in the politics of the DA, different important roles, actually. You would have left at a very difficult moment. That can't have been easy when you left the DA. Was it a difficult decision to make to actually work with another party, a different party?
Absolutely, Stephen. I never dreamt that I would work with another party. My association with my former party was over a period of longer than 30 years. I served as a public representative for 25 years, and I really never thought I'd be where I am now. But you know, that I suppose is the essence of democracy and people making choices. And you'll recall at the time when I left the DA, I said that, you know, I regard myself as a conviction politician and not a career politician. And I'd lost a bit of conviction with my former political party, and I'm going to give it a go with ActionSA. I was very impressed what they did in the last election with very limited time and resources, and only contested in 6 elections. And the fact that they were able to attract support across the board in those municipalities was interesting. I've had long discussions with Herman Mashaba about the fact that there's a major constituency of registered voters who don't vote in this country. And if we can just ignite some kind of political inclination in those voters to come back and vote with their feet and bring about change in South Africa, that could happen quite easily. So my objective would be to mobilize that disillusioned, disaffected constituency that don't like or don't trust politicians. It's going to be a big job to convince them to actually get involved. And I want to see democratic change again in South Africa. You know, for a long time we never thought there'd be change, and then there was change in 1994. And I want to see change again. I want to see the current government replaced with a new option and a new alternative for South Africa. And doing that with ActionSA, I think, might bring that about.
When you have an older party like the one you used to belong to, or an even older one like the ANC, parties have formed an identity over time. They can have quite a big identity. I would say, for example, the ANC has quite a big identity of different things, different strands within it that people believe. When you have a new party, often the identity of that party is formed entirely by its first leader. Which leads me to this question. Do you agree with everything that Herman Mashaba says? He is the leader of ActionSA. He is the person who's formed this party. He's perhaps most famous, for example, for comments about foreign nationals. Do you agree with everything he says?
No, I absolutely do not agree with everything he has said. Are you still there, Stephen?
Yes, we're still with you.
Yeah, I absolutely do not agree with everything that is said to be said by Herman Mashaba. I am aware that, you know, there are distortions in politics for very obvious reasons. And I think one of the weaknesses in our politics is this constant name-calling and blaming by contesting political parties. You know, someone asked me the other day if I was going to join the Green xenophobe. I've written to Herman Mashaba. I've read their constitution on immigration and emigration. I've asked him very pertinent questions about whether he supports legal immigration, and he's written back to say absolutely does. Their constitution makes provision for that as well, and so does our constitution. Herman Mashaba is very clear that we do need scarce skills that we don't have in this country, and he also supports legal migration, immigration, and immigration. I've had a lot of discussions with him about that, and I'm sure we will have more in the party. I cannot join a party that is racist or xenophobic. I would never do that, and I've had very, very careful discussions with Herman Mashaba, and I've said that we need to be much more coherent on trigger issues in South Africa so that there's no confusion about what we actually stand for.
In the Eastern Cape in last year's election, so you're going to be the chair of ActionSA in the Eastern Cape. And I hate to be so rude in your first interview wearing ActionSA colours, but I went to go and look at the IEC election dashboard for the local government elections last year. Let me put it like this. You're basically going to have to start from scratch in the Eastern Cape, aren't you? I mean, you don't even feature on the IEC dashboard. I was amazed, actually.
Yeah, we definitely will have to start from scratch, and I'm under no illusion that that's going to be an enormous task. I am, however, quite impressed with the kind of traction that ActionSA does have in this province already. I had an extraordinary experience today where one of their members from ActionSA had phoned me last night from East London and wished me well and said he was looking forward to working with me. He phoned me at 5 a.m. this morning to say, would he be welcome to the press conference? I said, of course he would. He drove from East London on his own steam. His car broke down somewhere between East London and Port Alfred. He then hitched a lift, left his car keys hidden somewhere in his car and got a breakdown to collect it. And he arrived here and is now hitching back. With that kind of commitment and that kind of enthusiasm, I think one can build mountains. It's going to take a lot of hard work over the next 2 years. But Herman Mashaba achieved incredible results in 6 municipalities in the last local government election, and just those 6 municipalities garnered enough votes for ActionSA to be the 6th biggest party in South Africa. I think that augurs well for the future.
In 2024, we're going to have a national election that's actually very difficult to predict. I don't need to tell you that, Athol. You're an old hand in this game. You know much about it. It's hard to know what's going to happen to the ANC. It's hard to know what's going to happen to ActionSA. It's hard to know what's going to happen to the DA. Are you going to be going to Parliament? What prediction are you prepared to make at this time? Are you prepared to make any prediction for 2024?
Yeah, look, predictions I'm not prepared to make, but I've given a commitment to ActionSA that I will serve as their interim provincial leader until 2024. I believe that we'll get enough seats, or we get seats in the National Assembly across all 9 provinces, and that we'll get seats in the legislatures in all 9 provinces. I've made it quite clear to Herman Mashaba that I have no interest or inclination to go back to the provincial legislature. I've spent enough time in Bishu, but I have made myself available to go back to the National Assembly if that's what ActionSA wants. I have some experience in the National Assembly, and I think that they will need that kind of experience there. So that's what my projection is that we'll get enough seats to send a caucus of competent people to the National Assembly.